Slope-intercept form, or in other words, y equals mx plus b. Now let's start off with a quick intro. The formula is always going to be y equals mx plus b. Mx in this case equals the slope. Now remember that a negative slope rises to the left and the positive slope rises to the right. The b in the y equal mx plus b part is the y-intercept, the point that meets us intersects at the y-axis. Now, writing an equation of a linear function. You'll always be given a slope and a y-intercept to write an equation. In this case, you're given a slope of 3 over 5 and a y-intercept of -4. Now, let's write this equation. When we're writing an equation, you always have to make sure to use the correct formula. The correct formula in this case is y equals mx plus b. Now, let's plug in the values for m and for b, which are the slope and the y-intercept. If done correctly, the equation would equal y equals 3 over 5x -4. Graphing a linear function given its equation in slope-intercept form. Use y equals 1 over 2x plus 3 for example. The slope is always going to equal what mx equals, so the slope is going to be 1 over 2. Our y-intercept here is 3, so the point on the graph is 0, 3. Plot the point at 0, 3, and always remember that rise over run equals 1 over 2. Rise over run is going to be our slope, which is mx plus b, which is going to be mx. So rise over run equals 1 over 2. From 0, 3, move up 1 and to the right twice to use our rise over run, and make sure to mark the point. When you're drawing your line for your graph, make sure to always use a ruler when needed. Now, let's talk about writing an equation of a linear function given its graph. Use the formula y equals mx plus b like we've been doing in these past slides. Determine the slope of the line, which is going to be m, and the y-intercept, which is going to be b. Say if the y-axis equals -4, so b is going to equal -4. If the rise over run in your graph equals -3 over 2, that's going to be your m. Substitute the values / plug the values in. Finally, our formulas from y equals mx plus b is going to turn into y equals -3 over 2x minus 4. Now, to verify our answer, let's use the point x equals -2 and y equals -1. On the left side, we have y equals -1, and on the right side, we have -3 over 2, and then in brackets, -2 minus 4. We put -2 in the brackets because we're substituting it for the point of x. Now, after we do -3 over 2 times -2, both of the 2's get rid of each other, and this leaves us with 3 minus 4. Now, obviously, we know that 3 minus 4 equals -1, and so we know that both sides are the same, and that since both sides are the same, we know that our answer is correct. Using an equation of linear function to solve a problem. Our problem is that the student council sponsored a dance. A ticket is going to cost you $5 and the DJ costs $300 in total. Now, what we have to do here is write an equation for the profit using P as dollars on the scale of T tickets. Here's our solution. We know that the profit is going to equal income minus expense. When T tickets are sold, the income is going to be $5T, and we know that the expenses are going to be $300. So, finally, our equation is going to be P equals 5T minus 300. Here we use 5T as the profit, and remember that we use -300 as our expense. And for one of our last slides, let's go through a quick recap. Remember that our formula is always going to equal y equals mx plus b. Remember that mx is always going to equal the slope and b will always equal the y-intercept. Make sure to always use y equals mx plus b when it comes to y-intercept form questions. Make sure you break down long questions to get the equations, and finally, but most importantly, use a ruler and make sure to check your answers. And with all this said, I now conclude our lesson of Intro to Slope-Intercept Form. I hope I have covered everything and all of your questions have been answered throughout this slide.